Hello and welcome to another episode of the Weighing Room podcast, where today the three of us are back with myself, Frankie Foster and Paul Callaghan, running through 7 live races across Saturday and Sunday, including racing from the final day of Newmarket Cesarewitch meeting, Chester, Haydock and of course Longchamp, with an anti-post look at arguably the biggest flat race of the season. My last podcast on the Weighing Room. We've been going for a number of years now, the three of us. And it's almost been like all of our babies, haven't we? We built it up to what it is now, but this will be my last show. But what a few years it's been.
I know, yeah, it's been great fun. It'll be sad that you're not on it, James. But yeah, over the 2 years we've had a laugh. We found some winners. We've talked and talked racing through the flat and through the jumps. So we'll see where the pod ends up. But your last one, so we want at least a winning nap to sign off from yourself, James.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope so. I did actually manage last week to land my nap with Royal Rhyme, so hopefully we can make it 2 out of 2 to finish. Paul, the same to you. Obviously, it's a sad one, but we don't want it to be a sad one because we want to find a lot of winners. And the Arc is the big race we're going to talk about later on. What do you think about this year's renewal in comparison to others?
I think it's wide open. I think it's a bit more open than the betting suggests. I think there is the other argument then, is it as plain as the betting suggests that the winner's so obvious, but I don't think it is. I think it's an open affair. Maybe not a vintage renewal, time will tell, but it is quite open. But just in relation to the pod, James, sad episode, but yeah, time absolutely has flown. We've had great fun. I wish you all the best on to as you move on to pastures new.
Yep. Thank you very much, lads. But there's no time for getting sentimental and crying. We've got to find some winners this week, haven't we? So we'll start off by looking at the 150 at Newmarket on Saturday. It's the Group 2 Royal Lodge Stakes, over a mile. This race over the years has seen some really, really nice winners, and this year's renewal looks very, very good as well. We have Capulet at the top of the market, 2-1 for Aidan O'Brien, Ryan Moore. Ablon, the Solario winner, in there at 5s for Charlie Appleby. Al Musmak, 11-2, who was a winner last time out and second to Rosalian the time before. Ghostwriter, unbeaten for Clive Cox at 11-2. Macduff, 10s and 14-1, bigger the rest. Frankie, we'll start with you. I was always going to be a Godolphin horse in there. Normally, Aidan O'Brien chucks one in, and there's some others from different trainers that are either, like this year, unbeaten or have progressed throughout the year. It's a tricky race to sum up because obviously you've got the top of the market Capulet, who's going to be there at the top of the market for what he did last time. Are you with him or against him?
I'm with him, but I'm going to say that stupid and frustrating thing that we all say, but I guess there is some truth to it because we do all say it. I think it's very tight between the top two off of what we've seen, and if you could back Ablon as a bet to nothing, then that probably actually would be the smarter play if you were to have a few quid on, because Ablon did run really well over 7 last time and got going late on, and will probably be even better for the mile. And I don't think there is much between the top two at all, but I want winners on the board this week. And Capulet's performance over in Ireland behind Diego. I always forget how you pronounce the second name, Velasquez or however you say it. Yeah. I thought was very, very good. Thought that was a really, really good performance. And if the couple of £1 million horse is as good as we think he might be, and Capulet can run that well upsides him and go close, I think that's a good enough performance to put him into favourite. But if you were to give me a tenner, Ablon each way and get your money back if he comes in the places, is probably the smart bet.
Yeah, like I mentioned, it's a very, very tricky one because you can see why Capulet is at the top of the market. But 2-1 compared to 5-1 does look skinny with Ablon, obviously unbeaten. Paul, we've got the likes of Al Musmak, Ghostwriter, who's also unbeaten. Who's the one you landed on here?
Preference, my end is for Ablon. I think this is possibly one of the races of the weekend. I think this is set to be an absolute cracker. First one I'd rule out in the top 4 is Al Musmak. I thought Rosalian didn't do much for the form, was a beaten odds-on favourite on his next start at Doncaster. Capulet was, I thought he was pretty tough, wasn't he, at Leopardstown the last time. Saying that, Aidan saddled 4 of the 6 runners, and I thought Capulet had it pretty easy in front. He won't have it that easy here. Ghostwriter will go forward, and I thought visually was very impressive at Ascot last time out. You'd question the strength of the form, but got a nice lead, dictated a nice even pace from the front, and had a good look about then when they hit the shadows of the stand, had a good look about, the ears pricked, and he kind of half jammed on a bit. So he obviously had plenty left in the tank, but I think Capulet and Ghostwriter will go forward. And I think Ablon looked more of a work in progress the last time. He's a gorgeous big son of Dubawi, but he looked physically and mentally a bit immature. He wore the hood down to the start. He had the blindfold on in the stall. So hopefully the Doyle will be able to keep a lid on Ablon prior to this jumping off. But stepping up to a mile, going up in grade, they should go at a good pace here. Like I said, Capulet and Ghostwriter, I expect to go forward. And I think the Doyle, Ablon, hopefully then will be able to slot in behind those and pounce late. I thought Ablon got caught for toe when the race quickened last time out and did well under the circumstances. He was pretty keen, a little bit green throughout, and I think will have learned a lot and looked a little bit backward. I thought Capulet and Ghostwriter looked a lot more forward last time out, and I think Ablon, I think, will have improved more for his last time out success. I know that he's gone up a furlong, but like I said, gone up in grade, they should go a good pace here, which will help Ablon to settle, and I think 5-1's a cracking price.
Yeah, I think you described it very well there. I think you're right with Ablon. I think he's definitely going to improve from the way it's almost like he was running on debut and the penny dropped late, wasn't it? But it was his second run.
Yeah.
And I do think improvement will come again. Saying that, I do think Capulet's the right favourite, and I know 2-1. And I'm with you, Paul. I think it's an absolute cracker of a race because with these 2-year-olds, you don't know how much improvement you're going to see every time they step up. But I just think Capulet's the right favourite here, and I'm going to stick with him. What I do like about the form when seen last time out, this horse took a long time to actually come out, and then raced at your favourite track, Paul, Dundalk, and over a mile, and beat Huxley for Jessica Harrington. I don't think is that bad a horse, but it was almost like, I don't know for what reason, but he was pulled out on numerous occasions. He was non-runners in other races, and then started at Dundalk. I think they've always thought this horse was quite nice. Obviously, shoving him into the Champions Juvenile Stakes, it was one of them, really, wasn't it? Because he went off at 9-1. Obviously, Diego Velasquez, 2.4 million, I think. He might be even more, 8-15 favourite. They always thought that was going to be the one. But I thought for a long way out that Shamie Effingham probably should have gone and won the race. And even though it was a good performance for Diego Velasquez to chin him late on, I thought that set the standard on form easily, even though he hasn't kept his unbeaten records. If you look at the fourth from that event, Deep One, he's gone on to win the Group 2 Beresford Stakes. So that's franking the form of the race. And I know what you said, Paul, with Aidan O'Brien pretty much set up the race with having 4 in there. I do understand that. But I think Capulet, like the others, is going to come on again. I think at the moment shows the best form in the race. So I can see why he's favourite. I like its form a lot compared to others. Because I don't know how strong that Solario was. I think you're right with Al Musmak. It was a nice performance last time out, but Rosalian was beat, but I don't think that was probably his true running. Ghostwriter is really interesting for Clive Cox, and I couldn't really have any of the others. So I'm going to stick with Capulet to getting off to a winning start for favourite backers. I just think he holds the best form in the race. Right then, we're going to move away from Newmarket and go to Chester because they are next on ITV. And the only event they are showing on ITV on Saturday is the 205 Watergate Cup handicap over 2 mile, 2.5 furlongs. Paul, we'll start with you here. It's probably not the best betting race in the world, but it's on ITV, so we'll have a look at it. Who are you going for?
I've landed on your kindness for Charlie Johnston and Evergreen Joe Fanning, she's handicap mark has been climbing. She started off on a handicap mark of 76, then that dropped to 65. She lines up here off a handicap mark of 83. She's won 4 of her last 5. She won a 2 mile class 4 event at Musselburgh last time out of 81. Takes a step up in grade here, but with all due respect, it's probably not the strongest of class 2 events. And at Chester, where it usually pays to be on the front end, you'd imagine from stall 3, your kindness will go forward. And I think represents a bit of value at 8-1.
Yeah, Charlie Johnston and that man Joe Fanning around Chester, and Frankie Norton, like when they ride. They always have big chances, don't they? So around 8-1 in the market, your kindness, I think could definitely go forward from stall 3. Frankie, for you in this one?
I think it's quite a good little race. Well, I always think it is at Chester because it's the home turf. I like to try to find winners because they do count. I like it's good to laugh here. Second the last 3 times was second to Emian, who's in this again. And we know that Emian will just go from the front and probably did nick the race that day when it's good to laugh was second. The same happened next time behind Brave Knight over 2 miles, and then was actually second to Paul's selection last time at Musselburgh. Of those that it's good to laugh a race against today, Your Kindness and Emian is slightly better off in the weights. He always goes well around Chester. I think the extra 2 furlongs might allow him to run some of these down later on. And Kieran O'Neill's riding. I don't know if I've got that wrong. I thought that PJ McDonald was back on, but if he's done his homework, he'll see what's happened at Chester the last couple of times, and I think he'll probably just follow one of the front runners. Hopefully sit behind Emian and try and go and win it late on. So it's good to laugh for me.
Yeah, run a few times at Chester and hasn't run badly at all. 8-1 is a nice each way play in this race. We've all gone for one at similar prices, to be fair, all around each in the market, but I've gone for Zealandia for Ian Williams. Since being back up in trip, this horse, his form has absolutely rapidly improved. Finished a good 4th at Chester over 12.5 furlongs. Then over the same course and distance in July, improved to finish a half a length second behind a nice type for Andrew Balding. He was last seen at Goodwood on soft ground going up to 14 furlongs. And he got back to winning ways off a mark of 83. That was at Musselburgh. And he decisively saw off the well-handicapped Nathaniel Green for William Haggis by over 2 lengths. He's been up further in trip here. I think that could bring more improvement because every time he's raced up further in trip, he really has improved for Ian Williams. He races off £4 higher here. I think he's shown before on numerous occasions this season that he does handle the Chester track. So any rain that fall would be no problem for him. The going is soft at the moment. I think they'll be absolutely perfect with Zealandia. And I think he looks a nice price to go close here and keep on his upward curve. So Zealandia off a mark of 87.
Plus 22 off your stake for backing Dave Probert round Chester this year.
Yeah, lovely stuff.
Not bad at all. No.
Lovely stuff. Back over to Newmarket then for their second event of the afternoon, and it sees the first Group 1 of the day. It's a cracking card, isn't it, at Newmarket on Saturday. I do look forward to this meeting every year. The Judmont Cheveley Park Stakes, over 6 furlongs is the race we're going to have a look at now. Relief Rally at the top of the market with a superb horse for William Haggis and Simon Ioannidis at Suede all season. Jasna's Secret for Christoph Sumion in the saddle at 5. Soprano at 7s for George Bowie and Daniel Tudhope. Sacred Angel at 10s for the Charlie Johnston team. Cherry Blossom turned out 7 days later after a second in the Goff Millions. Port of Fortuna at 11s. Persian Dreamer 14s and 25-1 bigger the rest. Frankie, another cracker. First Group 1 of the day. Relief Rally's in here at the top of the market at 2-1. She's been outstanding all season, but are you going to take her on or are you with her?
Not at that point, and I thought, right, let's have a look through the field and try and make second at the Royal Meeting, wasn't she? Looked the real deal at Newbury and then just confirmed that at York. I do think that Symbology down at 40-1 has been done harshly by the bookies. And if you wanted to maybe have a crack at an each way bet or a place bet for Symbology to run into the places, because she was only a length and a half, I think, behind Relief Rally at York. And she finished 7th of 12 at Salisbury, but was supposedly unbalanced crossing the road. So if you were to put a line through that performance and go back to 3rd at the Royal Meeting, 3rd at York, like within a couple of lengths of these winners, 40-1 is a big price for Symbology. So maybe if you're trying to find value, that would be an each way play. But I think Relief Rally just confirms the form with those she's already beat, and the others in here, I don't think they've raced to the same level or with the same horses. So yeah, I'm going to stick with a favourite.
Yeah, Relief Rally, solid at the top of the market. And like you mentioned, 13 runners in the field. If you can try and find a bookie that's paying 4 places here, Symbology at 40-1, probably not the worst bet in the world, because I think as well, Ross Orion's in the saddle, he's riding out his skin at the moment. And Symbology showing a lot of good form, so 40-1 could be a big price.
Yeah, I think she was a length and a quarter behind Relief Rally at York. You get within a length of the one we all think's going to win. You're not miles out of the places, are you?
No, not wrong at all. Not wrong at all. So, and a nice little each way angle as well there. Paul, the chat's been about Relief Rally. And I guess the question, like I asked Frankie, is are you with her or against her?
With her, I think we're hovering on that territory here. I think Frankie makes a good case for symbology, and there is one firm paying 4 places at that 40-1. So you could do worse than have a fun bet, symbology. But I think 2-1, as obvious as the arc betting is, I think this is more obvious. I think 2-1's a cracking price here. Relief Rally, she's a little pocket rocket. She's not very big. She's all heart. She runs with her heart on her sleeve. Probably unlucky not to be 5 from 5. She handles any ground, and yeah, I think she'll win. Bar disaster if she wins.
Well, we might be having a team nap here, Paul, because Relief
Absolutely.
Rally, Relief Rally, I think, is absolutely solid at the top of the market, and like we all do, we all obviously start at the top of the market, and you try and think, right, how can we get this favourite beat and eke a bit of value, and you go through the field. And I just don't think any of these horses at all are anywhere near what Relief Rally's shown this season. I know a lot of them are putting nice performances and won some nice races. But Frankie, what you said there, what she did last time at York was absolutely unbelievable. Like, to be checked the amount of time she was, to then get out up the rail and absolutely fly home. And look, it does help that Tom Marquand's in the saddle, because I call him the kitchen sink, because he absolutely throws everything at his horse to get it home. I think he's one of the best jockeys around. I think he's brilliant in a finish. And how he got her home, and to actually win comfortably by a length from Cherry Blossom, who, look, was battered in the Goff Millions, but still finished second above many horses that day. But that one looks a smart one over in Ireland. But I think Relief Rally, the way she's been brought across all the way throughout her career, obviously the win in the Weatherby Super Sprint, bolting up by 3 lengths on ground, probably softer than what she would have liked. She got quicker ground at York in the Group 2, Lauder Stakes. I think she's just progressed massively. I think, obviously, she ran at 5 furlongs. She went up to 6 furlongs. I think it's no bother. I think the 6 furlongs probably improves her. I think she can make it 5 wins from 6 here. I actually don't think it's the strongest Group 1 in the world. I think there's some nice horses, but at this level, Relief Rally has shown the most she has this season compared to anything else in the field. The French horse is interesting there. The one that Christophe Soumillon's going to ride. But Relief Rally, William Agus, I think gets the job done. Haydock offered just the one race on ITV on Saturday then, with the 240 Cavani.co.uk, the Dapper Dash for Cash handicap over 5 furlongs. Paul, a tricky handicap, but one of your favourites in here, Silky Wilkie. Are you with him or against him?
I'm with him, with Brandon Wilkie on board. Silky Wilkie. We've look at it. Not a race maybe I'll be getting stuck into, but Silky Wilkie, best price 9-2, has been running well of late without winning. Hasn't won since back in April. That was off a handicap mark of 99, but has been holding his form. He only beat one home in a listed event at Doncaster last time out, but was only beaten a length and a quarter by the winner. Was second in a listed race at Beverley 2 starts ago. I think I tipped him up on the pod that day. Now rated 105, and Brandon Wilkie claims the valuable £7 to lighten that burden of at 9 stone 12. I think once again Silky Wilkie has to be on the premises here.
Yeah, you love Silky Wilkie. You put him up a few times. He's done you a few favours, hasn't he? The only worry I have with Silky Wilkie, I put him up I think I put him up at Beverley. He just doesn't seem to get the job done anymore. But hopefully the £7 claim, and it's funny that Brandon Wilkie for Silky Wilkie.
I didn't even clock that, you know.
That's brilliant. At
Stars have aligned here, I think.
9-2. This is his opportunity, isn't it, to get back to winning ways? And Paul, Frankie, sorry, are you on the same page as Paul, or are you looking elsewhere to take on Silky Wilkie?
I am, yeah. No, it's a Wilkie weekend. I think he's got a good chance. As Paul said, has been holding his form, has placed the last 3 times, or 4th, 2nd, and 3rd. And they've been in listed events, and even if you go back beyond that, he raced in a group race at Goodwood, a listed event, was 2nd at York. You've got to go all the way back to the Epsom Dash, the last time that he ran in a handicap, and he raced off a 107, so a couple of pounds higher, managed to come 2nd. That's one of the quickest races we have in the calendar. So you go back to the last bit of handicap form, it's actually really strong off a couple of pounds higher, and has Mrs. Brandon Wilkie on board, taking off the valuable 7. So I actually think he's got a great chance. Silky Wilkie.
Yeah, I think, well, this is his chance to get back to winning ways, but I'm not with you, lads. I've gone with Manila Scouse. I wish I could have made it up the Wilkie treble, actually. But no, Manila Scouse I've gone for Tim Easterby and Duran Fenterman. During July and August, this gelding really put it all together. He finished the next second at York in the Sky Bet Dash handicap over 6 furlongs, behind the progressive Amarama Gold, who obviously went on to win the Stewards Cup. The talented Summergand was back in 4th, who went on to land a Constantine handicap over the same course and distance. Nella Scouse came out and also franked the form of that race. Next time out, went up £3 in the handicap, and at Haydock over 5 furlongs, which this is exactly the same, went on to easily land an apprentice handicap on heavy ground during the Sunday series. I can tell you, lads, it's been absolutely lashing down all week in Manchester, not too far from Haydock. It's actually dry this morning, but if any more rain falls, it's going to be a bog, isn't it? It's currently soft ground at Haydock, and it could get a lot worse. We know what it's like, and this horse won't mind that at all. He was sent into the Racing League off the same mark of 81 just 4 days later at Chepstow, and he made it back-to-back wins in really, really good fashion. He was then up to a mark of 86, and he went into a really competitive event at the Ebor meeting over 5.5 furlongs. Went on the all-weather at Southall during the Racing League. He can only make it 6 to 14, and probably just got a little too high, but in a really good Class 2 handicap over 6 furlongs. And he bounced back to form and finishing only a neck back in 3rd behind Vintage Clarets and When Moon. Up to 87 here, back at a course and distance we know he's already won at. He was back to form last time out, and he's getting his preferred soft conditions. I thought Manila Scouse had a lot going for him for Tim Easterby, so I'll be sticking with Manila Scouse at a similar price to yours at 9 to 2. Right then, the second and final Group 1 of the afternoon at Newmarket is the Judmont Middle Park, top of the market for Simon and Ed Crispin at 15 to 8. River Tiber back at 9 to 4 for Aidan O'Brien. You saw for Clive Cox at 17 to 2. Task Force for Rafe Beckett at 10 to 1. Lake Forest, the winner of the Jim Crack at 16s. Elite Status looks a big price at 20 to 1 if they think they're still the horse that he is for Carl Burke. Starlust, who was supplemented at 20s, and 33 to 1, bigger the rest. Frankie, we'll start with you here. Van Dijk's obviously at the top of the market with River Tiber, got to reverse the form. Your Saw's interesting. Task Force is interesting. They're all interesting, aren't they?
They are. It's a good race, this. Really good race. I'm excited to see it because I think that a lot of the chat is going to be around Van Dijk on quicker ground. And there'll be plenty of people saying, he's looked really, really impressive on soft ground, but what's going to happen when they race on good to firm? And River Tiber's obviously won on quicker ground and now challenges again after being beaten over in France on quick ground until that day in France. And I think he can hold that strong. I do get the argument that, horses can be made to look really good if they get their ground, especially testing conditions, because some horses just don't race on it. But I think Van Dijk could be top class. I think he's one they all got to beat. So I'm with the Fav.
Yeah, no problem there. I've been a huge fan of Van Dijk as well. And like you say, sometimes when you see a horse, until they give you a reason to jump off, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So stick with it. I can understand why Van Dijk's on your mind, definitely. Paul, you have a similar opinion, or have you looked for a bigger price in the field?
No, I think it evolves around the top 2. I think Van Dijk will handle the ground. And if that's the case, I don't see how or why River Tiber will reverse the form. I do think Van Dijk will handle the ground. River Tiber tracked Van Dijk throughout in France last time out, and River Tiber probably did well to finish as close as he did. I thought Van Dijk travelled sweeter, although River Tiber finished the race probably stronger. But having said that, at the time when River Tiber was getting going, he was under pressure some way out. Ryan was kind of slapping him down the shoulder just to hold his position, or to kind of keep tabs on Van Dijk. The race was over by the time he got going. I thought Van Dijk won well. I think he'll handle the ground. Was 9 to 4 yesterday afternoon. Has seed market support, now 15 to 8. And I fancy Van Dijk to confirm that form.
Yeah, another strong opinion for Van Dijk. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of Van Dijk, but I'm a bigger fan of River Tiber. And I think River Tiber can reverse the form here. Seen 4 times to date, making his debut at Navan on soft ground over 5.5 furlongs. He went on to absolutely bolt up by 10 lengths, and ever since then, I thought he caught the eye that much that I just thought, right, he's my sprinter to follow this season. On his next start at Nace, he dropped to 5 furlongs and was giving away £3 to the field, but easily landed quite a nice event to make it 2 out of 2 for his career. He stepped up in grade at Royal Ascot in the Group 2 Coventry Stakes. He was always thought to be Aidan O'Brien's Coventry horse. And in really gritty performance, he landed the hat-trick to see off Army Ethos and Bucanero Forte, with obviously Bucanero Forte coming out and landing the Group 1 Phoenix Stakes since. Having not been seen since June, and I don't know why this was, if the horse had a setback or they're waiting for autumn targets, I don't know. I haven't seen anything from Aidan O'Brien to suggest why he wasn't ran at some of the bigger meetings, maybe because of ground. But having not been seen since June, he returned after a small break on very soft ground at Deauville in the pre-morning, obviously finishing 3rd behind Van Dijk. The thing is, I think Van Dijk will go on the ground as well. But I'm of the opinion that River Tiber needs good ground. And even though has won on soft and even softer conditions, I don't think that's his bag. I think getting back to good ground will and strip him much fitter for that run in the pre-morning, where I don't think he ran badly at all, stayed on after getting beaten for a bit of pace early on. I think he'll be much smarter here. I think he can reverse the form with Van Dijk. And at 9-4, I think you're getting a big price about a Coventry winner here. Like I said, all respect to Van Dijk. I think it's going to be a cracker race. I do think it's out the top 2 in the market, like you two lads said. O'Brien's won 3 of the last 6 renewals, took it last year with Blackbeard as well. You've got to sum up where River Tiber lies with some of the horses that he's won this with. But I've been a fan of him all season. I think he can bounce back, and I'm going to give him another chance. So River Tiber to reverse the form with Van Dijk. Right, the big race of the afternoon at Newmarket and the big race of the 3-day meeting is the Cambridgeshire Heritage Handicap over 1 mile and a furlong. Sees a huge field go to post as he does every year. 35 runners in this year's event. I'll read out a few at the top of the market. I'm not going to read them out more because I'd be out here all day. But Greek Order, 4-1, top of the market for Harry and Roger Charlton. Dual Identity at 12s. Astro King 14s. Saga 14s. Oviedo 14s. Liberty Lane 16s. Crackshot 18s. Haunted Dream 20s, Merlin the Wizard 20s, Tawada 20s, and 25-1, bigger the rest. Frankie, we'll start with you here. Greek Order at the top of the market to 4-1 favourite in a 35 runner field, but it could be that old saying, couldn't it, that you could have a group horse in a handicap here.
Yeah,
but
it's
with 35 runners, you probably want to try and find something at a bigger price, even though he could be a good thing. So what's your opinion on the race? I'm sure you've got a few.
Oh, it's brutal, isn't it? When you do have a market leader that does look like they could be above this sort of field. But as you said, there's 35 runners. And I think you've got to have a bit of fun and try and find a price, because these are the races that, you're more likely to get them in. And you've got to throw a few darts, make your case and hope one sticks. I'll flag up 2 in the race, one being Liberty Lane, who was a good second to Waipiro here over 1 mile 2 on a second start. Waipiro's obviously gone on to do better things than Liberty Lane has, but she still progressed well enough, I think. Was midfield in the Dante, 11th at Royal Ascot. That probably could have been a bit better, but did win last time out, just beating Sonny Liston, who's been super unlucky and again was well fancied, and they think that horse has been fairly handicapped to go and win big races like this. So to get a nose in front of Sonny Liston last time out, I think was good enough form, and only gone up, I think it's £4 for it. Yeah, not too harsh at all. So Liberty Lane would be my shorter price selection, and then Eileen Dub, although I'm watching race replays back, I think I've been getting that wrong. I think it's Aileen Do. Either way, I put this horse up a couple of times. And just that extra furlong might help him out. He's won twice when racing over 1.5 miles a furlong. And with, again, a claimer on board, takes him back to below his last winning mark of 92. We'll now race off of 90 with the claimer on board. And I'm hoping just that kind of extra furlong, he might be able to find a few out here with the benefit of the claimer taking some weight off. So Liberty Lane, a good winner last time out, and Eileen Do with the claimer on board taking 5 off and the extra furlong to catch a couple of these milers out.
16 and 66-1. We like that a lot. all I'd say is you've got to look at your bookmakers, haven't you, for this race? Because surely 35 runners, some are going to be offering some seriously big place markets. So at 66 to 1, might be able to sneak in there. And we like those bigger prices. Paul, is there a few that you spotted in the field that you want to mention?
There is. The first one I've gone with is Saga, who finished second in a similar event over course and distance back in May. Ran well in 2 listed races since then, finishing 5th to 16 over a mile and 2 at Ascot. And last time out, although only managed to beat one rival home, did finish 3 lengths behind the winner, Savvy Victory. Was second in the Britannia Stakes at Royal Ascot back in 2022. Can miss the break, but is capable, I think, of a big run. And I think the 8 or 9 furlongs does suit Saga better. So I think this is probably his best trip, and I think 14 to 1 represents a bit of value here for Saga. And I'm with Aileen Dove as well with Frankie. I think is a cracking each way bet. Some firms are offering their 6 and 8 places. Now, those who are going 8 places are 33 to 1. 6 places, there is 66 to 1 available for Aileen Dove. I think it's a cracking each way bet. Finished 8 to 19 last time out in a competitive handicap at York, but was only beaten 4 lengths by the winner, and as a good claimer in Jack Carney, claiming £5 off 9 stone. So Saga and Eileen Dove for me.
Well, there's not a lot of times that the two of you put up 66 to 1 chances. That's got to say. So
all in.
I feel dirty. I feel so dirty. I'm gonna put up Greek Order. Look, I have got one at a bigger price as well. But it was 9 to 2 yesterday. I was looking, he's back into 4 to 1. I'm hoping this horse will drift and not get back. And I know you do want to see horses get back, but with 35 runners, I want a bigger price. But if she does go to that maybe 11 to 2, 6 to 1 mark, and I know I'm asking for a lot there, but I think she becomes quite a nice price because he's the typical in those colours, a group horse in a handicap. And I know he's gone up £10 up to a mark of 95, but I think he's been bred to be much better than what he's currently on. And I think this is a stepping stone to what he's going to do. So I'm going to start with Greek Order. He's shown some smart form on his juvenile outings last season without managing to get off the mark. And he started this term in similar fashion. In a good race at Salisbury over 7 furlongs. He was third behind the winner Goodwar, who has come out and won since, and Balance Play, who we know how good that horse has been in handicaps this season. Since then, Greek Order has proven in handicaps what a smart talent he is. Stepping up to a mile at Sandown off a mark of 80 when winning fairly comfortably. Up £5 at Newbury when making it 2 out of 2 in handicaps. When absolutely bolting up by just over 4 lengths to Maximilian Caesar. Maximilian Caesar's come out of the Doncaster St. Leger meeting and landed a nice handicap himself to frank the form. So that's good to see. The step up in trip up to 1 mile 2 has obviously been what Greek Orders need as well. I know he drops back a furlong here, but the £10 rise is the thing you're looking at. Is that really going to throw him off? I think he's only going to improve. I think £10 obviously is a lot, but like I mentioned, I think this horse is going to be in the hundreds in no time. So I think 95 is still a nice mark. And stall 25, the winner came out stall 26 last season. So if going off last year's run, he's drawn very well. So I'll be going with Greek Order. It's dirty, but I think he's the best horse in the race. And at a bigger price, I like the Ed Walker train Tawada. Like I mentioned, 35 runners. It was worth having a go at one at a bigger price with many extra places on offer. And at 20 to 1 Tawada, I think he'd hit the frame. He showed ability in his first 2 novice events, and then put it all together on his third start at Nottingham, went up to 8.5 furlongs, going on to bolt up by 9 lengths on quick ground, making his handicap debut over a mile on the July course. He made it back-to-back successes in a really good event off a mark of 90. He saw off the talented Gatekeeper with ease that day, and we know the Gatekeeper's quite a nice horse. He's won a few times. Up £6 and sent into a competitive 19-runner Clipper handicap at the Ebor meeting. I thought he ran a really fair race back in 7th. He was hampered when making his challenge, and he stayed on well, only going down by 4 lengths. Up to furlong, for this event and dropped £1 in the handicap. I thought he was worth another go, and I know he needs to get a clearer passage, and it's very tough with a 35-runner race because you're always going to hit trouble with that many runners. But I don't think we've seen the best of Tawada yet, and I think he can keep improving in handicap. So with, like you mentioned, 6, 7, 8 places on offer with some firms, 20-1. I thought Tawada could hit the frame here at 20s. Gents, that's all of Saturday's races covered. But we couldn't finish this week's podcast without having a little anti-post. Well, it's not anti-post, actually, because we know the final field for the Group 1 Qatar Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe. Arguably the race of the season, this, for many. It sees a lot of the best horses over 1 mile 4 go to post. We've seen some cracking winners over the years. And for me, like we talked about at the top of the show, Paul, it's probably not the strongest renewal in the world that we've seen, but there's still some very, very nice horses in here. I'll read through the betting. At the top of the market, we have Ace Impact. The 3-year-old is unbeaten for Jean-Claude Rouget. Hookham, drawn in the car park, but needs to overcome that at 6-1. Westover, drawn at the other end of the spectrum, installed 1 at 13-2. The St. Ledger winner, Continuous, supplemented for this at 13s. Feed the Flame at 10s. Baybridge in here at 14s, and 14-1 bigger the rest. Paul, we'll start with you. The Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe is a race that everyone wants to win every season. I think there's 15 runners going to post this season. Who are the horses you've landed on here?
I've gone with Baybridge, and at a bit of a price, place to Carousel for Andre Farb as a bit of an each way poke here. I think, listen during the week to podcasts and whatnot throughout on the arc. You can get bogged down a little bit with stats. Like, there's so many stats and connections. Everyone's lining up here quite confident and whatnot. Is it as obvious as Ace Impact's best price 3-1? Possibly it is. We'll soon be the wiser shortly after 3:05 on Sunday afternoon. I'd be looking to take him on. I think Hookham, I can't see him winning from stall 14, and I think Hookham and Westover both had quite a hard race at Ascot last time out. Probably Westover the harder of the two, in that he was drawn out wide and ended up wide throughout. Like, I think Turner for Home ended up at about 6 off the inside rail. I know Hookham had to come wide, but Jim Crowley had the luxury of delaying that kind of manoeuvre until they had straightened up, thus give away no ground. And then the two of them, both horses then locked horns in the straight, and I think I would just be afraid with Hookham and Westover if that race at Ascot has left a mark here. So that's why I've gone elsewhere. Baybridge, not good draw in stall 6, won the Group 3 September Stakes over 1.5 miles at Kempton last time out. Didn't enjoy the greatest experience in the Prince of Wales the time before that. Was second to Luxembourg earlier on in the season in the Group 1 Tarsel's Gold Cup. Like I said, as a nice draw, I think 1.4 miles will suit. The vibes have been good from connections, and I'd be happy to get involved with Baybridge at 14-1. Place to Carousel, probably going with connections here with reputation as opposed to form. She probably would need to step up on all known form. She's won her last 2. She won a Group 2 at Longchamp last time out. Won a Group 1 for fillies and mares over 1.2 miles at Longchamp last October. Will need to improve, but trained by a master. And you could do worse than having each way poke at 25-1 on a place to Carousel.
Yeah, lovely stuff. I think it's worth having 2 goes in here. Baybridge, is a horse I absolutely love as well. And it would make me sick if he won and I haven't put him up. And I'm not putting him up. But Baybridge at 14s is a big price, and an even bigger price place to Carousel with Mikel Barcelona in the saddle. He's a good shout at 25 from Storm 11. Frankie, was there a few in here that you took a look at that you like the look of?
I mean, the top 3 in the market all of these horses have been winning big races, but obviously Ace Impact's unbeaten. Hookham, back from a big break, has come back and won 2 massive races and looked as good as ever. Continuous kind of not came out of nowhere, but certainly improved, and then gone and won the Ledger and won at York. We're gonna go with Westover, who hasn't been winning, but I know he's having or had a much better season than he did last year. Kind of taking the same sort of route from Epsom this year. He did go to France and win rather than going over to Ireland, and then to Ascot, where he ran a great race behind Hookham, and then we'll come here. 6 in this last year on very soft ground. I wouldn't like to see it very soft, but I think he'll handle soft. He was second early on in his career on soft ground. He didn't run horrendously here last year, but I just got a feeling he's got a big day coming. And with each of his runs this year, he looks to have been getting better. I think that was probably a career best last time to finish second to Hookham last time. Paul does make a good point in that he had a tough race, and he has got to kind of take that in his stride and hopefully, not be any worse for that. But I'd give him a chance here at an each way price. He's had a really solid season. He'll give you a good run for your money. And I just feel like there's another step up for him. He's still getting better, Westover.
So Westover at 13-2 for Rafe Becky, who's had an unbelievable season, has got to overcome that draw in stall 1. Same with Hookham, obviously drawn 14. I love Hookham. I put him up for the King George. He's another one of my favourites, but I have gone against him here. There's 2 I actually put up anti-post at a shorter prices now, and I am going to stick with them both, but one more so than the other. And I think Ace Impact is the real deal here. I think he's going to be very, very tough to beat in what I think isn't the greatest renewal of an arc we've seen in our life. Yes, there's some decent horses. We know Hookham's good, but like you mentioned, a tough race. Had to be whipped 9 times in the end. Can't be done that because he'll get disqualified here. Westover, yeah, very, very good horse, but is he the type of horse you think would win an arc? I probably don't think so. Continuous, the record of horses coming from the St. Leger to this race isn't great at all. And Baybridge, I always think with an arc, it's got to be your main objective every season. I probably think it's been an after plan for Baybridge. That's my only worry. And I think others, there's a lot with German form. You've got Frankie's last rise with free wind. You've got one of your favourites, Paulo Nesto, that you put up for the Irish Champion Stakes, a big price at 40-1 if he can bounce back. There is some nice horses, but I just don't think any of them in there, apart from Ace Impact, to be the one that I think can really go and win an arc. And like Frankie mentioned, he's unbeaten, but it's not just because of that reason. It's just because of the way he's raced. And like I said, I put him up at a bigger price at 6-1. He's now into 3-1. And I think that's probably fair from what he's done throughout his career, really. He made his debut in January of this year when Bolton up at Cagnes-de-Mer over 1 mile 2 on debut. He then went to Bordeaux, Le Buscat in April and made it 2 out of 2 in similar fashion. He gave away to the field that day. Sent into his first listed event at Chantilly. He made it a hat-trick of wins, showing very, very good ability. And he showed just how consistent he can be. He was looking to make it 4 out of 4 when next seen in the Group 1 Prix de Jockey Club. He put up the performance of his career when pulling away that day against a really, really good field to win the French Derby by 4 lengths. I thought the way he chased down the leader, staying every inch of the 10.5 furlong, stepping up to the art trick will look to suit, I thought. And he's a really highly promising 3-year-old. He was given a final prep run ahead of this big race. And he extended his unbeaten run to 5 on the bounce when landing the Group 2 Prix GM Ornano at Deauville on good to soft ground. Staying on well towards the finish. And he beat Group 1 winner Al Reefer that day, who I thought ran a really, really nice race as well. He's looking to go 6 out of 6 here. He's the one to beat, definitely, and he's drawn perfectly in stall out, middle of the field. He can be able to bounce out and be able to do what he wants to do. He's got no problems having to come from a wide draw, come from draw 1. So, yeah, I think Ace Impact's the real deal. I know it's boring because it's at the top of the market, but I think this race is tough enough to find a winner. So, if I want to keep it simple, I think that's the right way to go. And I think Ace Impact, like what Jean-Claude Rouget has been saying this week as well, he really does think that this horse is going to go and win. And he doesn't get it wrong that often. So Ace Impact, and just another one I'll mention, won't put a strong case up for it, but I think at 10-1 Feed the Flame for Pascal Barry and Tumion has got a really, really big chance. If you go back 2 starts ago over 1 mile 4 at Longchamp, he beat Adelaide River by a length in the Grand Prix de Paris. I thought that was a really nice staying performance. Last time out, over the same course and distance in the Group 2 Prix Neil. He finished second to Fantastic Moon, who has been supplemented for this race. But I just think Feed the Flame, that the way he races, he'd be set up perfectly for an arc to come off the pace. So I think he would be my each way angle, but Stall 2 hasn't helped him at all. So Ace Impact, the main selection, but just watch out for Feed the Flame to try and nick a place. Gents, that is all of the big races covered on Saturday and Sunday. All we need now is our naps for the weekend, and hopefully we can I can try and sign off with a winning nap this week. Like I mentioned last week, I landed my nap with Royal Rhyme. Paul, you were unlucky with Totnes, who I think was back in second. So I'm going for 2 out of 2 this week. But Frankie, we'll start with you. Who is the nap for the weekend, please?
I'm going to stay on my home track, Chester, with the 205. It's good to laugh. Second the last 3 times, and I think can go one better. Good each way bet, 8-1.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Nice price at 8. Paul, is there any Dundalk on Friday, or is it just straight into this weekend stuff?
There's certainly Dundalk on Friday, James. I can't believe Dundalk's starting and you're leaving. That is sick. We got off to a flyer last week with Nicky Swango landing the 5:25, but things didn't go so well for Roman and the 8:30 contest, unfortunately. But not for this week. I think we're all on Relief Rally. I think she takes the beating in that 2:25 at Newmarket. Value, there's a question mark whether the value has gone on what was the selection. The nap was 9-4, now 15-8. My nap this week is in the 3 o'clock at Newmarket. I am with Van Dijk. So Van Dijk is the nap for the pod this week. Gonna have to mention Dundalk, haven't I? 3 selections tonight. Well, 3 I think to keep an eye on. We've got the 8 races. First goes to post at 4:35 in the opener. Not the strongest of maidens here. It's a claiming maiden. I'm with Luke de Rude for Charles O'Brien, and Declan McDonough was well beaten on his last 2 starts, but ran okay at the Curragh earlier on in his career back in May. Was 5th of 8 and was only beaten 3 1/4 lengths by the winner. All runs have been over 7 furlongs. It's a weak race, dropping back to 6 furlongs. An interesting jockey trainer combination. When the team up, they're generally not far away. I'd be with Luke de Rude in the 4:35 at 4-1. 6:45 is the Albasti Equiworld Dubai Diamond Stakes. It's a listed event over the extended mile and 2. I'd take a chance with Bold Discovery from stall number 1. Was Bold Discovery 4.5 lengths behind Flight Plan last time out. Was 3 3/4 lengths behind Epictetus the time before at Goodwood. I think the step up here will hopefully suit Bold Discovery, who won a listed race on Good to Firm at the Curragh back in July. Bold Discovery's having his first start on the all-weather, has an American pedigree, so the artificial surface here should suit. And I'd be happy to get involved with Bold Discovery at 13-2. And in the 8:15, I would take a chance with the informed Namidia, who was just chinned in that 8:30 contest the last week at Dundalk, second last week. Not entirely straightforward, but comes here in good form on the back of that second place and should be on the premises once again at 9-2.
Well, I am going to miss that. I tell you that. Miss those. A little recap of what's going on at Dundalk. And like you said, you got a winner last week, so worth following those selections from Paul. I think you've been very kind, Paul. I think you've left Relief Rally for me here, haven't you? I think she's just going to win. I think she's going to land her first Group 1 in the Cheveley Park. What she did last time at York was absolutely outstanding. In trouble, and I think she'll improve again with what I think the field not anywhere near as good as what she is. So at 2-1, Relief Rally is my final nap on the Weighing Room podcast. Lads, thanks as always for your selections. It's been an absolute pleasure to work alongside you over the last 2 years or so. Like we mentioned, this podcast we built really from nothing, and it's become what it has, and I've absolutely thoroughly enjoyed doing it over the last few years. So thank you so much, and I really am going to miss it. Is there anything else you two want to say to sign off?
Been a pleasure. Been great fun. And just to wish you all the best, James. I'm sure we'll all see each other. We'll bump into each other, whether it's on course or chatting on social media. So I'm sure I'll see you soon, regardless. Paul, I was going to miss you in Laytown actually, but I'm sure the 3 of us might link up. Yeah. Maybe at one of the jumps meetings, maybe at Dublin Racing Festival. But yeah, just wish you all the best, James, for going forwards.
Yeah, nice one. Thank you, mate. Yeah,
likewise, James. Sorry, likewise, echo those sentiments. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been great fun, to be building up and to be going as long as we have. Thoroughly enjoyed the journey, and yeah, wish you every success in the future, and hopefully our paths will cross in the near future.
Yeah, top stuff, Jeds. Yeah, thank you very much, and hopefully the Dublin Racing Festival. Obviously, I saw you last year there, Frankie. sure I'll be there again. And if Paul, you can get down this year, we might be able to have a little reunion ahead of the racing there. But no, like I mentioned, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you lads, and it's been an absolutely superb time doing this podcast. So thank you everyone for watching this weekend, and all the best wherever you are back in at Newmarket, Longchamp, Chester and Haydock.